Well, it's once again a joy to be with you guys. I am sorry that I am by myself. My wife couldn't make it. She had duties at our church that she could not get out of. She was needed for, and so I made the trek by myself, which started at 7 this morning, actually. I went up to Grand Rapids, to Bethany Baptist, so I was there for their Sunday school. So I spoke in their Sunday school. I spoke for their morning worship service, and then I had hours to kill, so I stayed for their afternoon service as well. So this is I should get a gold star. 4 services today. That's pretty good. No, when I called Rod when I got that date there at Bethany, I was like, I'm already going to be up there. Would you mind if I swung through? And he graciously allowed me to, and so I'm excited to be here. Since I've been here last, we as a family have undergone some changes. We're at different stage in our life. We're officially and completely empty nesters. All 3 of our kids are married. Carson just this past May, so they're still in their honeymoon phase of their newlyweds, and so Ashlyn and her husband Eddie still live up outside Flint. She teaches in a local school district up there, and her father-in-law is one of the pastors at Faith Baptist in Davison, Michigan. And my daughter Brenna and her husband, and Carson and his wife Mariah, both of them live about 20 minutes from us. So it's a blessing to have them close by. Carson and Mariah both work and teach at Northside Christian there on the north side of Columbus, and are on staff there and doing well. And Nick and Brenna will be coming on to staff at Peniel this summer, and full-time resident staff. And so I'm excited about that. One, because that takes some of the duties off of my plate. I get to wear one less hat. That's kind of nice. I still have several to wear, but that's one less that I have to wear. So he'll be taking over the program. He'll become the program director, so that I can just focus on being the director. And more exciting, they bring our granddaughter. So that's even better. Hazel will be just around the corner from us, and so we're excited to be able to visit with her on a little more consistent basis. Not that we don't see her every week now, but I'm sure Gigi, which is my wife, she'll be seeing her every day at some point in that sense. So we're excited as a family, and the role that we get to play at Peniel. We're excited about the changes that are happening there too. Exciting times abound. And so what I want to do tonight, boy, I have a lot to share in a little bit of time. And lest you think that I will actually take Pastor Rod's suggestion, take as long as you need. I will not, because as I said, I've had a long day and I need to get on the road. So I won't do that to you, but I do have a lot to cram in. So pardon my quick speaking when I'm talking about some of this, but I will stay around as long as you want to answer any questions you have, to share what God is doing, because as you'll see, those of you who know me already and those who might want to get to know me, I can talk, especially when it comes to what God is doing through the ministry at Peniel or about granddaughter. I should know better. I should have pictures on the slide presentation. You'll have to look at my phone to see her. Sorry about that. So that's my hook to get you over to the table after the service. But really what I want to talk about here initially is what we call our next steps. That's our vision for the future. About a year and a half ago, we had, I don't know, for lack of better terms, just a major shakeup, a good one, not like an earthquake shakeup that rattles you to the core. I mean, a really good one, where many things changed all at once. Both from our infrastructure, our organization, just how we are going about things, to then putting into place a 20-year vision that will, in all intents and purposes, extend through the usefulness of my ministry there, let me put it that way, for the next 20 years, being able to really push hard to see this mission and this vision accomplished. And so if you have been at camp and went on one of our vision tours, a lot of this you'll have heard already. Anyone here has done that at camp? The ones that I do know are not here tonight. Good. So this will be fresh for you guys, and so I want to share that with you. I do want to say before I get into it, this is what we call our Next Steps book. I've got copies of those at the table, and these are things that we print to share with anyone who would be interested in what we're doing, praying for that, just learning how to partner with us. And it's philosophical. It's really meant to give to someone who has no idea what Christian camp is, but then also to kind of jump into what Peniel is specifically and how we operate. And then the last half of the book are all the plans and the vision and these steps that we're going to take to get to that. At the very beginning, when we met as a board and we brought on a new board member who became the president of our board, and he was kind of the catalyst for a lot of this, Sam Brock from Ironwood Christian Camp. The first thing we needed to do is we needed to write a mission statement that truly captured what camp was all about. Not this broad, far-reaching, many-faceted statement they had before. No, we need to say this is what camp is, because now our mission board is the Ohio Bible Mission. That's who owns the camp. That's my board. But now that and Peniel are one and the same. There is no difference anymore. There's no extra things attached. It is Peniel Bible Camp. Technically, according to the state, it's Ohio Bible Mission, DBA, Peniel Bible Camp. They are the one and the same now. And so this statement, this mission statement, was what was filed with the state. This is now in our Articles of Incorporation, the official mission statement of Peniel Bible Camp. And it says this, that we exist to partner with local churches by providing a camp environment that strengthens the church in the areas of discipleship, fellowship, and worship, evangelizing the lost to know Christ, encouraging believers to be like Christ, and edifying one another to magnify Christ. And there are three key words there. Well, there's four. Partner is a big key word there. That's what we want to be for the church, a partner in ministry. But those three key words after that, discipleship, fellowship, and worship. And those aren't just mere buzzwords for us. These are at the very cornerstone of what we are trying to do as a ministry. And everything that we're doing, which you'll see in the book, which we'll talk about here, every facility improvement, every staff addition, every infrastructure change, it is all to accomplish these three things for the church. And the reason we chose these when I wrote this statement is because it really encapsulates our Christian relationships. We have discipleship, fellowship, and worship. In all aspects and directions, that, in very general sense, summarizes what we as Christians should be doing in relation to one another and to the Lord. And that's what we want to be. We want to be a tool for the local church to accomplish these very things. And so at the very forefront, we said this has to be what we do. And if we do anything that takes away that what I call a sideways energy, then we're wasting our time. And I've already had to do that on my own. We're looking at cabin designs for these newly revised cabins. Oh, I can accomplish this by doing this with it. And I was reminded, but how do you fellowship in that design? How do you disciple kids in that design? And I was like, I was getting ahead of myself. I was wanting to accomplish something else, which was good, but it didn't accomplish our mission. And so we're always recalibrating according to this. And so then what I would say is our objective then, what I would summarize our overall scope is to serve the whole church the whole year. There is no doubt that God could allow growth for our camp, but that's not what we're trying to do. We're not trying to grow what I would call vertically. We're trying to go horizontally. So where our good number is 150, I want to do that any time of the year for any age group. And so that's why we're making some of these facility changes. That's why we're adding staff to be able to serve that size of a group, that size of a church, or smaller, obviously, at any time. It could be like this outside, or it could be blazing hot outside. It could be a toddler. It could be a senior citizen. We want to be able to serve that kind of a demographic. And so that's really at the core of what we're doing. Are we accomplishing our mission to try to see this vision come to fruition? That's what we're trying to do there. And so there are a few things that happen in that. One, we have to extend our season to 12 months. That's how this horizontal growth will take place. Practically speaking, we have to double our camper days. Right now, we serve 5,000 camper days. That is just someone who stays overnight and has 3 meals. So if a kid comes to camp, that one kid is equal to 5 camper days. So it's not 5,000 people, 5,000 camper days. We want to double that number, but to do that, we have to at least quadruple our staff. Right now, well, not right now, but at like last year, when it's just been Josh and me, if there's 2 people and 5,000 camper days, that's a ratio of 1 to 2,500. That is not healthy. A decent ratio is 1 to 1,000. Other camps go 1 to 750. I'll be happy with 1 to 1,000. So if we're at least half of what we need to be, and we're trying to double our number, math students, that means we got to quadruple our staff. So that really could say 8 to 10. If we're really going to keep that 1 to 1,000 ratio, if we get to 10,000, we should have 10 full-time staff. And that's really what our goal is. Now, understand, this is a 20-year vision. This is not happening overnight. Although we are seeing God move a lot quicker than we thought on some of our other things. But this is the goal. This is the end goal for this 20-year vision, which will be revised every 5 years or so. I understand that. But for right now, this is what our board and we have come together and said, this is what we think is a feasible goal for the next 20 years. In order to do that, we have to meet certain needs. The campers have needs, obviously. Those are 5 words up there that summarize the main aspects of being a camper. The first 3 being the most important. You have to have food and a place to eat it. You have to have a place to meet, to share the word. And you have to have a place to sleep. I mean, you really could run camp with just those 3 things. Now, in addition to that, you want to have some activities. You want to be able to play. And that's probably what we at Peniel historically have done best. And yet that's the least important thing on this list. And so we need to reprioritize. And that's part of what we're doing in this vision. But then that last one is an interesting one. We want to be able to consider, if we really want to accomplish discipleship, fellowship, and worship, then we have to have places outside of the chapel, outside of our meeting room, to be able to go and consider what was just taught, or to fellowship together, or to disciple somebody. And so what we're trying to do is, if we can seat 150 inside, we should seat 150 outside. Not in one spot, but spread throughout the camp. We should have an equal number of seating to be able to accomplish those 3 things in an informal setting, if we're trying to do it also in a formal setting. So those are big need kind of things that we're talking about. But the staff also have needs. We need to have places for them to live. We got the McFarlands and VanderSchels taken care of. But if we're adding staff, we need to have those places for them to live, so we don't take all the cabins to have them. And that's in the works, and we'll show you that here in a little bit. But then we also need to add equipment. We have to have the right tools. We have to have space to do that, whether it's maintenance yards and different things like that we'll be developing as well. I won't go through all of that tonight for sake of time, but it's in here. And so I would encourage you to take a copy of that to look through and send me some questions as a result. Now, some of the specifics of this plan are this. This is an 18-step plan. We're calling them steps, not years, simply because if you say a year, you're bound to a timeline. God's already started to change that on us, because last year, this was 19 steps. God already did things to combine steps for us. So we're already adapting. And it also kind of just tells us this is an order which we think is wise to do it, not necessarily, well, it has to be done this year and that next year. We're trying to follow the steps. And one thing to consider too is, if we're to accomplish these steps, even if something is out of our order, like something happened and, that was an independent project and someone decided to give toward that and workers came and did it, that's okay, because it's still a step toward the goal. It might not have been in our order, but obviously it was in God's. And it's still a step toward that ultimate goal of serving the whole church the whole year. So the 18 steps, and again, these are all just estimates, but based on what our history of getting volunteer workers to come in and do this, for materials to do this, we're looking at, I say only, 3.6 million, because over 20 years, that's not a lot, especially not to God. And in this last year and a half, can I tell you how God has begun to work in this already? We had 200,000 that we could designate right away, that we were, not wisely, but that's just what we were doing. We were sitting on it. And said, okay, let's start investing money for ministry and let God multiply it. Kind of like the parable of the servants with the talents. So we designated 200,000 to start working right away. In the last year and a half, including that 200,000, we're somewhere between $750,000 and $1 million. That's how God's blessing. We've never seen that before. And to me, in Scripture, you see a lot of the "but God" statements. That's what it is. I haven't been out sharing this with people. I've been too busy doing what God brings along. It's God. And that's exactly how he does it. He does it so clearly that it's only him that gets the credit and only he gets the glory. And so that's why I'm here today. It's not to share, look at this cool stuff we're doing. Look at this next phase of this project. I mean, I'll share some of that. But the main thing is, guess who gets the glory because of it? We're just broken jars that God is using to pour out his blessings to the church. And what a privilege it is to do that. So let's look at some of the specifics of that. I'll share a little bit of what we have been doing and what's in progress. I did forget to put slides of like what's later this year. You'll probably thank me because we'll be out of time if I added those anyway. So the one thing that we were praying about big time was our wastewater treatment plant. That was the purpose of it, to repair what we had, to increase its efficiency, to make sure we were meeting EPA regulations so that we wouldn't be shut down, and to maintain that, what we call a good capacity for us, 150 for the near future. Now, if God provides vertical growth, then this will have to be addressed. But right now, I don't think I'd ever say this about a wastewater treatment plant, but it's a slick running operation right now. I have done so much more research in wastewater than I've ever wanted to do, and unfortunately, I will never forget it. I mean, I know all the steps, the aeration and the clarification and the dosing and the filtration. I mean, I could build one from the ground up now, based on all the EPA Green Book stuff I've been reading. But God blessed, and what was originally a $400,000 price tag, because we thought we were going to have to replace the whole thing, ended up only being 40. And to boot, God provided 60. So we're able to take that excess and start bringing it into some of the other projects that are now priorities, and that is completely done. And what a relief, especially for Josh. So he doesn't have to go down and deal with that on a daily basis. The only thing we have to do is put a fence around it, but all the material's there, but we're not doing it in this weather. But as far as the functionality, it is complete. Another thing we addressed was Ashbrook Hall. We took that main building, which was pretty much just a dining hall and an indoor game space. And I think Heritage Christian enjoyed it this year. I hope you enjoyed it. It was definitely enjoyable to us in the summer. We basically put a big dividing wall in there. The front, or the side with the fireplace, became our new chapel, our meeting room. Brand new screens and speakers in there. The backside became our dining room, round tables and chairs. And again, that was to accomplish mission. In a round table, you can't hide. There's going to be fellowship happening there. Hopefully there's discipleship happening there. Now, a kid could drop his head and not want to talk, but he can't hide at the end of a cafeteria table now. So there's that, and they're comfy chairs too. I mean, yes, comfort actually does help us accomplish mission because we can actually stay focused on worship and not be distracted from it. And the whole place was HVAC'd, including the kitchen. In fact, there were times this summer where my cooks were freezing in the morning. That has said no one ever about Peniel Bible Camp. But God allowed all that to happen. And so the cost of that was $120. That was our estimate. Ended up being about $130 or so. That's okay. I had extra from the wastewater treatment plant. We had $120 funded, and that is completed. And we've been using it. We actually used it in the winter. One of the coldest weekends we had, my wife put on a reading retreat. And this is a bunch of ladies that don't like to be cold. And it was like single-digit negative degree wind chills. We turned on the heaters, started a fire, and they were comfortable all weekend long. That's amazing. And that accomplished ministry for them. And so we're grateful, and we give God the glory. That's what the chapel side looks like on a full chapel. This was our senior high week this past year. 100 campers plus staff. We're probably seating 140 in that picture right there. And you can't see it, but there's still plenty of room on the sides. So we could easily get to that 150 number we're talking about. Obviously, it's decorated for the theme, but you can see that like that. I mean, I went in there. This was not obviously designed for it, but being in there and hearing the singing and speaking from that up front, it was like made for this. This is a perfect space for chapel now. And you have a bathroom only 50 feet away, not a half mile. So that's a blessing as well. So to be able to have that, that's been huge for us. And then the dining side, that's what the dining side looks like when it's nice and full. 16 round tables, that gets us 128 there. Our staff eat in the conference room, and that gets us to our 150. So even in that, we can do that 150 fairly comfortably. And with those massive air conditioners / heaters up there, it makes it comfortable even when it's packed in that. So we're so thankful for how God provided for that. We were able to upgrade the kitchen, some brand new equipment. We're upgrading dishes. We're getting ready to refurbish the meal prep area, take out the old countertops, put all stainless in, make it be, it's, for those of you who have worked in the kitchen there before, our health inspector has said it's the best kitchen in Morrow County. I wouldn't need it many places in Morrow County if that's the case. No, it is a good kitchen, don't get me wrong, but if that's the best, maybe I'll stop going to that Mexican place in Mount Gilead. But we want it to be a testimony to everyone and to be really efficient for the future, beyond our time there. And so we estimated the first phase to be $50,000. That's to accomplish those things. You'll see in this book, like kitchen 1, kitchen 2, kitchen 3, there will be definitely things down the road that we do, but for this first phase, $50,000. Beginning of the summer, let me tell you an anecdote. I should have clipped this thing, it's keep pulling on me. Let me tell you an anecdote. Beginning of the summer, we had an individual call just out of the blue. He'd been a camper back in the 70s. Hasn't been since, but he just retired from Wall Street, fairly successful. And he just said, I was going down my donor list, and the Lord just kept bringing you to mind. So I decided to call 3 days straight. I couldn't get you off of my mind. So do you have a need that I could meet? Like a single need, not part of a bigger project, something just on its own. And we say, well, the next on our list in our next steps is the kitchen. He said it's $50,000. He's like, ooh. He's like, I was only planning on giving 20 or 25. Okay, you have a check by the end of the week. I didn't advertise that. He had no idea that we had put together a vision. But God did. And that's how he's meeting needs. And so it was funded completely by that check. And we've put the equipment in. I think there's a picture of that. So we put some nice new equipment in there. The meal prep area refurbish will happen this fall. But brand new dishwasher, a Combitherm unit. There's lots of cool stuff that's going in there that'll make the cooks' jobs a whole lot easier. And I need to start moving. The youth cabins. That's the big one. And don't even come at me with, but they built character. I don't want to hear it. if they don't come to camp, they're not going to have any character built to begin with. Besides, the Word of God does a better job than tough sleeping conditions, all right? So we are completely renovating those, completely gutting them, new doors, windows, lighting. We're going to insulate them, put air conditioning and heat in them. Bathrooms and showers are going to be added. And we're doing all 4 at once on the quote unquote boys' side, because that's historically where the boys have stayed. Once they're renovated this summer, the girls will stay there. I know it's going to be, I had some girl say, I will never stay in one of those cabins. Those were the boys. I was like, well, there's bathrooms and air conditioning. I think you'll stay there. So we're using that. It's just closer to all of our infrastructure. Those were just the easiest to do. And so just this past week, this is what, let me talk about the cost. $120,000 materials. We funded $120,000, and we are on the move. And this is what I was doing this past week. I wasn't digging. That was a guy from Wayside Chapel, but I was pouring the footers. So the footers for the additions are poured. Block layers are coming next week, and we go. It's happening fast, and God is blessing in a mighty way. Staff housing, we need to meet the need of staff. So as they come in, we need to be able to have them a place to stay. We're going to renovate. We're actually started renovating the old campground. We have 3 housing units out there already. The total cost of what we're doing right now is $360,000. We have about $265,000 of that, which gets us well into what we need to do right away. This is like for all of those put together. And we would like to see all those finished by the end of this year into next year, because we are continually adding staff, to full-time resident staff to meet the needs that we have. And so this is kind of what it's starting to look like. That's some of the exterior framing. This is what the inside of one of them looks like. So you saw that looked like a modular. It is. These modular are being donated to us. They're old classrooms and offices, and we are gutting them, putting them down. They're not going to be mobile anymore. They're anchored down really well now. We're going to insulate the crawl space, add all new plumbing and electric and insulation, and they will be houses. They will be nice houses. And putting new roofs on them, just so they actually look like houses too, not just like, trailer on the outside, mansion on the inside. No, we want it to be decent all the way around. And there are investors that have come in and have said, we're going to front half the money for these. You do the rest of the work. They technically own these modulars. They bought them for like $1 because they were being given to us. Then when they're finished, they get them reappraised. Now they donated them to camp at a value much greater than what they invested. And now they save on their taxes and we get houses. That's the definition of a win-win. And so of that $265,000, the majority of that is pledged from those investors. 2 guys that they've done that for other camps and they wanted to do that for us too. And so again, God, not us in that. So our prayer request as we head into this, we have a lot to do in a little bit of time. The cabins and at least 2 portions of the housing for Jessica McFarland and for Nick and Brenna Hill. We want those done by the summer, as well as the 4 cabins. And so we've got lots to do. And I think we'll be in contact for some help with those, if anyone would have time or the ability or the desire to help us with that. So we do need a significant number of people to come do that. Obviously, it doesn't stop with what we have now. You'll see 18 steps worth of stuff in here that we'll need to keep moving forward on. And then lest I forget, we still run camp. It's not just about getting this done for camp. We actually have to run camp. And so we do need summer staff and a significant number of them. We have a good head start, but we still need those volunteers to come in and help us serve the church in that very unique way. And so that is our next steps vision for the future. And boy, that was the bulk of my time. What time do you normally get out? 7? Okay, then let's do a 10-minute devotional, shall we? Just to try to keep us on. Okay, maybe 15, if you'll bear with me. I wasn't preaching at you. I was being preachy, but not preaching. So let's turn to Psalm 66, because this will tie into what you've been singing, that he's worthy of worship, what I've been saying, that he needs to get all the glory. And so Psalm 66 here, you obviously like good music. You sing well. You have talented musicians. I obviously like good music. That's why I asked Rod to write the music for my for my texts. And this here, and sometimes we forget when we study Psalms that these are actually songs. They're not just textual for us to study. They were written for a reason, and they were written to be sung. And so we lose some of that sometimes when we just look at a psalm just for the words. Now, don't get me wrong, the words are the most important. But maybe we would do well to look at something in context of why it's a song and apply it to ourselves. Because there's obviously things that we know music does for us. We learn our ABCs with music. We hear something being played or sung, and we remember when we first learned that. Or it resonates within us, and so we start humming it. In fact, when you're at home, you start humming something, and then you hear your wife humming it. It's like, well, did she do it and I caught it? Or did I do it and she caught it? I don't know. But music is something important to us. And music to the Israelites was important to them. And all these psalms are songs that we should be appreciating for their music as well. Now, we don't know the tunes, but let me explain what I mean. At the very beginning there, it says to the choir master, a song and a psalm. It's described as both. And there's significance to that, because the word for psalm, mismor, means a formal, accompanied, something done for a specific occasion. The word for song, sir, means something that is well known and sung by the masses. So what that tells me is that when they're used together, this psalm, this theme here, was something that was a formal composition for an occasion that became so well known, so popular, so important to the people that they would just sing it around town. And that's how I want us to approach this. The themes here should resonate with us so deeply that we go from here saying, that's something I need to rehearse every day. That's something I need to hum around the house. I need to whistle this tune. I need to sing this to myself. And so we begin. So if you'll suffer me to put it in the context of a song, here's what I want to do. Those different sections broken up by Selah, those pauses, those times of reflection, I'm going to structure this psalm according to a song. And first we have the prelude, what I would call worldwide worship. And I'm not going to read every single word. You can check me if you'd like as we go through that for sake of time. But here we have worldwide worship. Shout for joy, all the earth. Sing the glory of his name. Give to him glorious praise. Say to God, how awesome are your deeds. And so here we have a challenge to the whole earth to sing. Well, the character of that worship and in its scope and its content and its quality is the fact that it is directed solely to God. I think we could agree with that. He deserves it alone. This shout for joy to God is kind of like a loud, loyal cry to the king, similar to what they would have done back in 1 Samuel 10 when Saul was anointed and Samuel said, look at this individual. There's no one else like him. And the people responded and said, long live the king. That should be our attitude towards our king. There is no one else like him. And so we should be shouting, long live the king. It's this loud, loyal cry to the king, but it's always then about his glory, never our own. It's never petty. It's never pompous. Charles Spurgeon said this, it is our glory to be able to give God glory. And all our true glory should be ascribed to God, for it is his glory. It's all about him. And it certainly shouldn't be a performance. I mean, we can perform it, but it's not about the attire. It's not about if you hit the notes. It's not about your consonants, your breathing. It's none of that. It's from the heart. And anything from the heart will always be more glorious than any performance. Now, there is a contrast within this worship as well, though, because there's an irresistible power. So great is your power that your enemies come cringing to you. The world submits because it can't do anything else. His power keeps them in submission. And this cringing, this isn't a sincere attempt to bow before the Lord. This is they have been bowed low. They've been cut down to size. They're doing it reluctantly because they can't do anything else. This is not a willing submission. They come cringing because of his awesomeness. But it also leads to inevitable praise. All the earth worships. All of it sings praises to your name. The guaranteed prospect of an earth reconciled to its creator is truly cause for rejoicing. And so we, above all others, should shout for joy, should be willing participants in worldwide worship. Then we get to our first verse, and I'll call it a sight to behold. It says there in verse 5, come and see. There's a recognition of God's goodness. You know, if one were to be slow to verbally express what he's challenging them in verse 3, the psalmist now wants to give a visual motivation. And he brings in something that they would know very, very well as he rehearses God's power to them. He turned the sea into dry land. They passed through the river on foot. The crossing of the Red Sea and its counterpart, the Jordan River, have to be the ultimate demonstration of God's power and provision for his people. I mean, could you imagine that? In fact, that's what he wants them to do. He says, there did we rejoice in him. Were any of those people that he was writing to, had they survived the wilderness wandering? No. Or any of those people he was writing to, had they lived since crossing the Jordan? No. But what he's saying is, in your mind's eye, go back to that. These stories have been told, passed on from generation to generation. That's why the rocks were built up, so that when people would come and say, what do these stones mean to you? You would rehearse God's goodness and his greatness. He says, take yourself back there. Are you there? Right? And then there. We rejoiced there. And so no matter what you're going through now, take your place there. As I walk around camp, I see stones of memorials to God all over the place. Not literal stones, but I see God did that. Oh, yep, God did that. God used them to do that. And I'm walking around and I'm saying, there, I rejoice in him. And there, I rejoice in him. And you guys can look around this room and say, in their lives, there, I rejoice in him because God did a work in them. He's pointing out, just like we can, the very moments and places where God displays his grace. Let me put it this way. They had their stones, and so do we. We have those rocks of remembrance. And this leads to rejoicing because we can rest assured that no obstacle stands in the way of his purpose. And so then, therefore, we're reminded of his presence. His eyes keep watch on the nations. Just as the whole earth is to look to him, he is always looking over us. And one commentator put it this way, his loving look is matched only by his watchful eye. What a God that condescends to us, that cares for us. We rejoice in him. We shout for joy. Then we get to the interlude. And so we've been working worldwide worship. The nation remembers now personalized praise. You see the progression that we're having. The God of the universe is the God of their nation, and he's the God of the individual. And at every single level, he deserves worship. And so here, we move from a visual display that they are in their mind's eye were to go back to now an audible exhortation to echo the worthiness of our attentive God. And I won't go through this, but if you look at all those different things, and he's now talking about, well, what if I suffer? What if things don't go well? At camp, things have been going so well. I am not naive enough to think that something's not going to go right sometime soon. Something's going to blow up. Hopefully not literally, but things are going to happen that aren't preferable. Will I still be able to praise? Will I still be able to say, even there, I rejoice in him? That's what he's saying. When you read through that, you've tested us and tried us. You brought us into the net. You laid a crushing burden on our backs. You let men ride over our heads. We went through fire and went through water. So whether we feel the heat of refining fire, whether we feel trapped without escape, whether we feel crushed under the weight of affliction, if we feel downtrodden with defeat, through fire and water, whether we feel like we've been through it all. That's why he uses those opposites, those ends of the extreme. Like, I've experienced it all. But yet what's he say? Yet you, but God, have brought us out to a place of abundance. Even in that, we are promised, because of what he did for Israel, and now even more so us bringing the Savior, we can rely on that God of promise. The suffering then becomes just as meaningful as the deliverance, because we've seen God's hand in it the whole way. And we are indeed delivered to a place of abundance where we're saturated and overflowing with rich fulfillment. And for them, just like Egypt in the wilderness, we're on the path to the promised land, so suffering lines the road to our heavenly home. It will. But we can worship him and we can rejoice in him. And so then we sacrifice and praise. And he goes all out. The climax of this corporate praise is now capped by this single cry, I will come into your house now. I will pay my vows. I will worship you. And this wasn't just a simple statement. He followed through with seriousness, with gravity. They were fattened animals. Those weren't cheap. They're the very best. And it wasn't one offering, it was burnt offerings plural. And this isn't just a typical thank offering where that's acceptable to thank the Lord with an offering, but then you had a feast afterwards. You got to partake in some of it. No, every single thing was given to God. Complete dedication because of the massive debt that I owe. And so then we conclude with our second and last final verse, a story to be told. We had come and see, now we have come and hear. All you who fear God, I will tell you what he's done for my soul. We have a fitting conclusion to this song now. Just as the nations were called to see God's past acts of power, now the individual is called to remember his continuing acts of love. Can I say that again? The nations were supposed to remember his acts of power. We're supposed to focus on his continuing acts of love, which are pretty powerful. Prayer and praise now intersect to form a perfect harmony, to celebrate not only the relief of deliverance, but also the deliverer himself. That's the whole focus this whole time. Unconditional love is celebrated. Unconventional logic is demonstrated. Where he says, if I cherish iniquity in my heart, the Lord wouldn't have listened, but truly God has listened. And if we were to go to a basic syllogism, if the major premise was that and the minor premise was what followed, the conclusion according to basic logic would be, therefore there's no iniquity in my heart. Because if I had considered it, God wouldn't listen, but God's listening. So hey, there's no iniquity. That's not what he says. He says, you have not removed your steadfast love from me. Again, focusing right back on him. Nothing to do with the psalmist. We praise him not just for his merciful response to us, but for his gracious relationship with us. It's undeserved, unconditional, and undeniable. Now, it would be good if I added the chorus to this. I'm not going to, because we're out of time. We're beyond time. But this would be the chorus. Come and see. Come and hear. Shout for joy. See all the powerful things that he does. Hear the way he's working in my heart and together with me, regardless of my circumstances, regardless of the good and the bad, the positive, the negative, the hard or the easy. Let's worship him because he alone is worthy to receive all the glory. Let's pray. God, we are so grateful for how you mercifully and graciously deal with us when we don't deserve it. And so help us to focus on you alone, even in the trials, even in the difficulties, not because you'll deliver, but because you are the deliverer. Help us to worship you and give you the glory that you alone deserve. And it's in your son's name that we pray this. Amen.